These are all the books that I own that I haven't read, and we're gonna go through them. I figured it was time to take a look at all of the books that I own that I haven't read yet and see which ones I want to read this year in 2024. I have to be honest, I thought it would be more books. So I'm actually pretty pleased with myself. I counted them earlier, but I forgot how many there were. 1, 2, 3, 26, 27, 28. 28! That's not too bad, isn't it? And if I was a different person, I would read these in 1 year. But I don't read that much. So I think I could get through like half of these maybe in 1 year. But I also don't really want to impose a book buying ban on myself, because I feel like this isn't like too much, like, because I am kind of a mood reader, so none of these might be exactly what I'm in the mood for next, right? So I want to give myself the flexibility. And also, today is the day, as I'm filming this, when House of Shadow and Flame comes out by Sarah J Maas, which is the 3rd book in the Crescent City series. And I'm currently reading the 2nd one, so once I finish that, I will get my hands on the 3rd book in the series. And like, I don't wanna impose a book buying ban, is what I'm saying. I don't feel like I have a problem. Although I guess people with problems would probably also see that. Anyway, I've divided these up into classics, fantasy, and miscellaneous. Let's start with the classics. The Beautiful and the Damned by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I've read The Great Gatsby, loved it, and I have started this one, as you can see. I'm on page 24, but I never actually continued, so we should change that soon. I also have this very old Dutch translation of 20,000 Miles Under the Sea, or Beneath the Sea, I'm not sure what the English title is, by Jules Verne, and it's a very old copy that I found in a thrift shop, but it has these lovely illustrations. I should read it. Actually, I think it's kind of a fantasy book. I actually don't know anything about this book. I really liked the edition. I knew that it was a famous book, so I bought it. Vanity Fair by William Thackeray. I don't know what this one is about either. I saw this, I think, in like a little free library, and I took it, and that's because I was like, this is a classic. I study English. I used to. Back then I was studying English. I was like, I should read classics, so that's why I got it. I have no idea what it's about. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I do know what this is about, and Mary Shelley apparently was only 18 when she wrote this, and this is kind of like the start of science fiction. So I think it's a very important book to read, and I'm actually very excited to read it. It's not too big either, so maybe this will be one that I get through this year. Who knows? A Journal of the Plague Year by Daniel Defoe. I have actually already started reading this. I'm about halfway through. I started reading this because COVID. Because we were in a plague year. One of my favorite YouTubers, Emma Angeline, she recommended it. And it's kind of like a fictional retelling of a plague that happened. Great Plague of 1665. And it was very interesting at first, but after a while, it's just kind of, it felt all of kind of the same. And the COVID parallels were huge. So I don't really feel like I should keep reading it right now. I'm just like, let's move past COVID. The Adventures and Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I've read a few of these, but see, as you can see, like, I have bookmarks in all of my books. But I haven't read all of them, and I should, but I don't really want to prioritize this at the moment. I also have The Incredible Journey, which also has nice little illustrations. I found this in a secondhand bookstore, and me and my brother used to watch the movie all of the time when we were younger. It also has like these, and it has this card in it. I don't know what this is, but it was in there. And I just bought it for the nostalgia. Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Again, just like any of these other books, I'm like, this is a classic. I found it for cheap. Let me buy it. Because as you can see, all of these, except for The Beautiful and the Damned, are secondhand copies. Oh, and also Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but that was like maybe €3 or something. So I was just like, if I can get these for free, or basically free, I'll get these. Because I think this one also I found in a little free library. Moll Flanders by Daniel Defoe. This one also is recommended by Emma Angeline on YouTube. This is supposed to be very funny, and that's all I know. That's all I know. And then I also have Emma by Jane Austen. Again, I started reading this, but never finished it. I think my problem was that I didn't really understand what was going on. I think my level of English wasn't very good back then, or I was trying to read it too quickly or something, but I did not understand what this was about. I also haven't seen the movie, so maybe I should watch the movie first and then try and read it. But maybe that would also kind of just like demotivate me because I know the story then. We'll see. The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. I got this very recently in a secondhand bookstore. Again, I love secondhand shopping. It looks new, as if no one has ever read it. And I had heard good things about this on BookTube and on Bookstagram, so I decided to get my hands on it. I think it's really cute. It's about this woman, a witch, who gets broken up with by her boyfriend, and then she curses him. I also have the first 2 books in the Heroes of Olympus by Rick Riordan series, The Lost Hero and The Son of Neptune. Again, I started reading this and I got actually very close to finishing, but then I never did. And I should. I'm actually currently listening to this podcast called The Newest Olympian. It's by this guy, this 30-year-old guy who started reading the Percy Jackson books by Rick Riordan for the first time, and he's like chronicling his experience. And I was reading along with him. I had already read the Percy Jackson books. There's 5 original books, and the Heroes of Olympus is a spin-off of those. But I kind of stopped reading halfway through the 3rd book, and I stopped listening to the podcast. But I recently started listening to the podcast again because there's a TV show coming out, the Percy Jackson TV show, that I'm watching and listening to the episodes of The Newest Olympian. And so I was like, I really should finish listening to the first 5 books with the podcast and read the books along with it. And then afterwards, when Mike Schubert is going to go on with probably Heroes of Olympus, then I can just like fall back into it and read along with him, because that would be a first-time read for me. And I think it's really interesting. The podcast is really fun. So if you like Percy Jackson, Rick Riordan, you should definitely give that podcast a listen. I will link it in the description for you to enjoy. I also have Stardust by Neil Gaiman. I'm on the fence about this one because I think I've actually DNF'd this one. I read this last year, or I started reading it in April of last year, and I got about halfway through, and I have to admit, I think it is starting to become a little bit more interesting, but I'm just not motivated to keep reading it. It's about this guy called Tristram who is, I think, half fairy, half human? But he lives in the human realm, and one day he crosses over to the fairyland because he wants to impress the woman that he's in love with, and he is going to find her a fallen star, a shooting star. And that's what it's about. And I'm about halfway through, and I don't know, should I finish this or should I not finish this? I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe. I also have the 2nd and 3rd books in the Shadow and Bone series by Leigh Bardugo. I've read the Shadow and Bone first book. I've read the first Shadow and Bone book back at the beginning of 2023. I made a whole video about that, so if you want to watch it, you can do so up here, or I will place a card at the end of the video too. And I liked it, but I wasn't so hyped up by it that I immediately wanted to read the next books. Also, I was kind of in the middle of reading the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I preferred to get on with that series. So I think once I've finished House of Flame and Shadow and Flame, I don't remember, the 3rd Crescent City book, then I will get into these ones. So these are basically up next, right? These are basically up next. Then this is more miscellaneous. I will start with this one, The Way the Crow Flies by Anne-Marie MacDonald. Anne-Marie MacDonald is the author of my favorite book of all time, which is Fall on Your Knees. And when I saw this in the secondhand bookstore, I decided to get my hands on this one too. It's about a pilot, I think, or a pilot's daughter, something like that. Fall on Your Knees is literary fiction. It's a chronicle of a whole family over 2 or 3 generations, and I really loved that one. It was a little bit dark, but also very beautiful, and I think that this should be kind of more of the same. I hope. I'm not actually sure. A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green. I read the first book in this duology, an absolutely remarkable thing, a few years ago, and when the second one came out, I was like, I need to get my hands on this. But now it's been a few years that I've had this book, and I don't really remember what happened in the first one, so maybe I should reread the first one and then get into this one, or maybe I should watch a recap before I get into this one. I don't know. Anyway, the duology is about a girl, I think she's called May June, who one day discovers like something from outer space, and she is the first one to kind of chronicle it on social media, and because of that she becomes really famous, and it's kind of like a sci-fi and social media story, and this is the continuation of that, and I don't know what happens in the second book because the first one actually ends like it's like wrapped up, right? So I'm not sure what's going to happen in this one. Karin Overmars Villa Betty. This is a Dutch book. Is it originally from a Dutch author, or maybe yeah, it is from a Dutch author. And this book I just found on the street. There's this Facebook group in Flanders that's called like something like Book Spotters or something, and they leave books around with little note, and then when you find the book with the note, then you should post it to the Facebook group and say like, oh, I found this, and then you should, you know, leave a book for the next person to find. But I found the book, and I was, you know, and I had the intention of letting the Facebook group know that I had found it, but I never did, and I also never read the book, and I don't know what it is about. I don't tend to read Dutch language books, but I feel like it's kind of like a romance, maybe a more contemporary romance fiction, you know. Actually, I kind of like the cover, so I probably should give this a go. Oh, this is a family story about love and betrayal, money, status, and the longing for more. Actually, this sounds pretty good. I should probably read this soon. The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton? Not sure. I started reading this, and I got halfway through, and I discovered that my favorite bookmark that I've lost for a few years now isn't here. So great, let me take it out. So I read halfway through. This is a murder mystery, and it's set in New Zealand, but in like 1866. But there's a ton of characters. What kind of drew me in was the imagery of the stars and the moon, and then at the beginning it has like a nice map and a character chart, and it says like this person is a Virgo and stuff like that. It has like a constellation chart, like right? So all of this I love, but then I started reading it, and it was so slow. It was so slow, and I felt like the main part was like, there's been a murder, and it got repeated so many times. I was just like, can we just please get it on with? So that's why I never finished it, but I do think that I should give it a go again. But maybe when I felt like I'm on a good streak, I want to keep reading, you know, when I've gotten into the habit of reading like 50 pages a day or something, is when I should read this, because it's a big boy. It's like 900 pages, I think. See, and like it has these charts, and it's really cool, and it's all about zodiac signs and stuff like that, but it's 832 pages. So this is one of the books that I bought on my recent trip to Amsterdam. You can watch my vlog about that down in the description. I got this in a secondhand bookstore, and basically this is kind of like my favorite book, Following Your Niece. This is like a chronicle of an entire family over the centuries. And the main thing that made me decide to buy it was that I was like skimming through it, and I realized that there's someone like writing letters, and they're from Zedelgem, which is a town in Belgium. And I was like, oh, well, let me see what that's about. And that was it. The Miseducation of Cameron Post. I also got this in like a secondhand bookstore. Yeah. This is about a young girl. I think she's 12 when her parents pass away in a car accident, I believe. And then she moves in with her aunt, I think. And then she gets sent to like a conversion camp because she likes girls. And that's all I know. It's like a coming of age story, LGBTQ. I'm very interested in it, but when I started reading it, because again, this is one of the books that I had already started reading. Oh, we have a nice bookmark. I don't know, I just wasn't really into it. I don't remember exactly why, but I just wasn't really. Want to try again. The Whalebone Theatre by Joanna Quinn. I got this book as a birthday present from one of my best friends, and I love her for it. I haven't read it, of course. Not entirely sure what it's about. I just read the back, and I'm not sure if I can give you like a short summary of it. I think it's just about people and their relationship with books and theater. At one point, a whale washes up on the beach, and there's an orphan girl, there's a family with 3 kids, and I guess they meet at one point. But I'm actually kind of clueless, but I've heard good things about this, and I think it's going to be a good read, so I definitely want to prioritize this one as well. The Blue Castle by Lucy Maud Montgomery. This is by the same author of Anne of Green Gables. This is one of the later novels that she wrote, and it's about this young woman. I think she's 18 or 19. Oh, she's 29. Still a young woman, who in the, I think, late 1800s or maybe beginning 1900s, she discovers that she is terminally ill, but she's unwed. She lives still with her mother and her aunt, and she has just kind of decided that, well, if I'm going to die, I might as well enjoy my time on earth here. And so she kind of breaks loose from the shackles that her family has put on her, and she, I think, gets into shenanigans. But I got this book in Prince Edward Island, where Lucy Maud Montgomery used to live, and they stamped my book to have her signature. Like the signature that she used to write in books with a little cat that she used to draw. So I think that's really cute. I'm very excited to read this, actually. One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. Not sure if McManus? Not sure if that's how you say it. This is a YA mystery novel. I got this in a thrift store again, and I bought this because I liked the painted edges. I know that this is part of a bigger series, but I only have the first one. And basically it's 5 students walk into detention, only 4 leave alive. So this is like a murder mystery YA, and I think I would enjoy it a lot. This is a very weird book. It's called End of How? An End of Story. This is a book by Philibert Schocht, and he is a Belgian or Dutch author, I'm not sure, his native language is Dutch, who lives in New York City, or has lived there, or in North America somewhere, and he wrote a book about his experience, but also, you know, as an expat, but also I think it's kind of like a mystery. I'm not sure what it is about exactly. The first half is written in Dutch, second half is written in English, and so you have to flip the book. I'm actually not sure if there's a reading order. I think you can choose which one to read first. End of Story, End of Hal is a cleverly composed novel that can be read as 2 separate stories, one written in English and one in Dutch, but together they form a greater whole. I think this sounds really interesting. So when I saw it at the secondhand bookstore, I decided to buy it. De ondraaglijke lichtheid van het bestaan by Milan Kundera. This is a book that I got from a friend, and I am too afraid to read it because I am scared that I won't like it and that I would let him down. I don't think he cares, but still, I care. I don't know what this is about. I think it's about a man and a woman who fall in love, but they realize that they're very different, and we kind of follow their relationship and the troubles that they have. I think. There's also a movie, I think it's called The Unbearable Lightness of Existence, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen the movie either. And then lastly, I have De Zeven Zussen, or The Seven Sisters by Lucinda Riley. My mother-in-law gave me this to read. She has them all on Kindle or her ebook or whatever, but she also had the physical copy, so she gave it to me to read. I'm supposed to give it back, but I've had it for a few months now and I haven't. I haven't touched it, I haven't read it. It's about these 7 sisters whose father dies unexpectedly and they all get together. Their father left a mysterious note about where they're from. So it's kind of a mystery again. Those were all of the books that I own that I haven't read, which I don't think this is too bad. I don't think this is too overwhelming. These are definitely my priority, the fantasy novels, and then probably I'll get to Whalebone Theatre, A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor, and One of Us is Lying, and The Blue Castle too. So these are like the ones that I want to get to the quickest. If you want actual book recommendations from me, what I like, what I didn't like, then you can watch my video about all of the books that I read in 2023. There's been a lot of good ones. So if you want to know what I thought about some of the books, oh hey, that I read in 2023, then you can watch them. I will leave a link in the description and at the top and at the end of the video as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!